In the next 20 minutes, we will be inspired by a sustainable superhero, Ignace Schops. Ignace is the visionary behind the National Park Hoge Kempen, and he will introduce to you his innovative reconnection model aimed at reintegrating nature into daily life, into the economy, into business and policy decisions also. And with his background as president of EUROPARC Federation, the largest nature network in Europe, that is, and leader of the Bond Beter Leefmilieu in Flanders, Ignace will share impactful strategies for sustainability. He will emphasize the urgent need, by the way, to invest in large-scale nature projects, highlighting that every euro invested in such a project yields a tenfold return for society. So please join us to rethink and reshape our approach to sustainability, guided by Ignace Schops.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Wim, for introducing me. So, ladies and gentlemen, I have a question for you. Do you think a tree frog can save our lives? I think it can, on the condition that we save the tree frog. What we see nowadays, of course, is that we have a silent collapse of our planet. And the question is, can we flip the hourglass? And can we start to talk about love and about tomorrow, about not about me and now, but about we and tomorrow? I don't know if you know this guy, is Edward O. Wilson, and he wrote a fantastic book. The book is called Half Earth, but he said the most dangerous worldview is the worldview of those who have not viewed the world. And I think he is right. We have to view the world to see what is going on. And then we need to know what is false and what is fact, what is fake news and what is real, because you can think it is raining if it is not. So be aware for that. So looking to the world, take a glance of the world and then see what we can do ourselves to save the planet. And maybe a tree frog can help us with that. One of the big things, of course, that everybody knows is that population growth is accelerating for many decades now. We are growing into 10 billion people in 2080. So it's growing, and the question is then, can we still survive all together on one planet? For many years, I do lots of projects on climate change and biodiversity. I'm an ambassador for Al Gore as well in his climate leadership course. But the strangest thing, if we talk about climate change, is that when we feel sick at home and we take our temperature and it's more than 37 degrees, we go to the doctor. And we say to him, help me please, or to her, if it is a she. But if we look to our planet, and also our planet is warming, we don't feel the same thing here. Because we know that the doctors of the planet, they say there's something really going on. The IPCC, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, is telling us for many years that our planet is collapsing due to global warming. And it's because of us. Because we are causing it. It's not meant to be, but we are causing it. And that's why I think last year the IPCC and also the Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, said, this is our last call. We are still on the highway to climate hell with our foot on the accelerator. Please now, it's code red for humanity. Looking to the world. When we look to the world and we zoom in not only on climate change, because we have a systemic problem now, and we focus on wilderness, on natural ecosystems, then you see that the world is also falling apart when it comes to wild nature. When it in 1977 had an abundance of wilderness, you see now that it is diminishing until 35% in 2020 and is still going down. So we have to live some places, and we always take new grounds to live, to work, to go on holidays. But of course, there is almost no nature left. And we see that in the species. We see that whenever group you look into, you tap into, you see that species are on the brink of extinction. 1 million species at the brink of extinction by the end of the century. And the populations globally, you can look in every continent now, is really going down. Right? Scientists say we are now in the era of depopulation of our species. It is going down so fast. Depopulation of species, defaunation, you could say. It's not only about the elephants and the orchids, but when we look at tropical diseases, they are on the move as well. I don't know if you know, but due to global warming, these viruses get common ground, get good grounds to spread around the world. You can look into West Nile virus or chikungunya or dengue, whatever you see them on the screen. They are really spreading the world. So when we think that the COVID pandemic is there, well, a next is maybe to come. Hopefully it will last for more than 100 years. We're not sure, huh? But we have to do that. Our footprint on the planet is too big. And what are the big reasons for that? And I would like to compare two things, and it's about cause and effect. When we look to the climate, to the COVID pandemic, you see that cause and effect lies very near to each other. You get the virus, you get sick, and you die in 14 days if you're badly treated with that. So the incubation time is 14 days. Cause and effect lies short to each other. But when we look to climate change and also natural ecosystems, you see that cause and effect lies far from each other, even 30 to 40 years. And that's why most of the people are thinking it's not that bad. We don't feel it. Huh? But it is worse. It's much worse than climate change. We have to know that 5 million people nowadays are dying because of global warming. 1 out of 10 people who die because of the effects of global warming. They die too soon because we reacted too late. And we have to know that our planet is one big machine, one big living engine. Everything is connected with everything. And we are trespassing our planetary boundaries. Nitrogen circle, biodiversity, climate change, and a lot of things we don't know. So we really have to watch out what is happening with us. And then, knowing that, what can we do? That's the next thing, of course. We know that the global objective is simple, very simple. We have to halve carbon emissions by half in the next decade, and also to stop biodiversity loss in the next decade. So the objective is very simple. But the question is, can we do that? Can we make Earth great again? That's the question. Knowing that the biggest challenge we have is time. Because I think we are innovative, technological, we are so smart as a human species that we will find solutions. The question is, can we do it in time? Because the clock is ticking. We have to shift from ego to eco. We have to become aware that we are not standing above everything, but we are a part of that living engine that is planet Earth. The million stars hotel we live in, and we don't have a plan B, I think. But maybe a change is just around the corner. So what to do when you're living in Belgium or wherever you live? What can we do? So firstly is to start a conversation about climate change. That's at least what I did together with a lot of friends. And that became a movement. We started the climate movement where the streets, the protests in the streets came up. The young people came together and say, yeah, let's protest, let's march the streets for climate, not only in Belgium, where we do it everywhere in the world. And it led, of course, to also in Belgium one interesting thing, and it is, of course, the Klimaatzaak, the climate court case, what we kickstarted in 2014. And we consequently won this battle. And what not a lot of people know is that this is called people versus the state. The Klimaatzaak, climate court case, is the biggest climate court case in the world, people versus the state. But what a lot of people don't know, that there is a cascade happening. It's under the waterline, but it is happening. What we see now at the first step was people versus the state. In the Netherlands, they started with the Urgenda case. Then we came in Belgium. Now there are, if governments are involved, more than 600 climate court cases in the world. The second step was people versus big oil. Also in the Netherlands, they kickstarted to sue Royal Dutch Shell, and they won. Third step is people versus big money. Now, also in the Netherlands, ING is brought to court because they financed too lot the fossil fuel industry. But what we don't know, or not knowing good enough, is that also states versus big oil is happening. Last year, California, also followed by another state in the United States, Vermont, they sued big oil for polluting the world. So also governments are following people. And it doesn't stop there. Big oil versus insurers. In Hawaii, the first big oil company is suing an insurer that they are not paying out the pollution that they have caused. And it goes further than that. The big insurers globally are now doubting and really thinking whether they should invest and if they should insure new fossil fuel investments. And also big money stop investing in fossil fuels. This is the cascade that is happening. It's under the water lane, but at a certain moment it will appear, and then hopefully it goes fast. So how can we translate and re-evaluate natural ecosystems? That's another thing, of course. And we have to know that value is in the eye of the beholder. We give value. We decide if something is valuable or not. And let me give you one example. If we compare diamond with, let's say, a bucket of water, and we have to compare the value, then you could say, okay, if a diamond is so much worth, it's millions worth, for sure if you compare it with a bucket of water. But then, if you think about the following question is, can you save a life with a diamond? No, we cannot, but we can with a bucket of water. So we need to give a new value to natural ecosystems, to climate. What is a result of that? We need to take that. Value is something different. We need to shift that. And we need to know, because we can bridge now something very interesting, that 50% of the world economy is depending on natural ecosystems. It's unbelievable that they now come to that conclusion, that they know that if, in the end of the day, we cannot eat money, I could say. And also Yuval Harari, one of the former speakers last year, I think, he said 2% of global GDP can save the world. It's a kind of a narrative that I like to learn of. We need to be smart. And we have to use all our brains, big or small, to work together, because everybody can do something. And if we have to finance change, we have to change finance. And that's what triggers me. And I said, why don't we come up with a green tax shelter where companies can have a discount for investing in nature, just like we do in the film industry in Belgium? Why don't we put a planet on the stock market with Earth shareholders? I cannot go into deep now. Or an intergenerational planetary loan where the IMF or the World Bank gives a loan and we have to pay back in 1,000 years, not on the 30 years. So we have to think above, we have to think out of the box. And that's something we like to do in my organization, the Regional Landscape Camp in Maasland, where we developed a reconnection model, trying to reconnect nature with nature, people with nature, business with nature, and policy with practice. And we have a 4-time return there: the natural capital, the social capital, the human capital, and the return on investment. It's unbelievable how beautiful the landscapes are we have in Belgium, in Flanders, and of course where I come from the Limburg region. You can see the national park, you can see river parks, you can have good food, you can cycle around, walking around. We have red deer now coming over to our region that has recently become a UNESCO Man and Biosphere Reserve. But what we did is we did some research on the socio-economic values of a national park. And we were looking to several parameters, and we saw what is the value that a national park brings on wellness and care, on water purification, on climate, on carbon sequestration, and so on and so forth. And of course, what brings us as ecosystem values and biodiversity, hiking, cycling. The result of all that is unbelievable. It's unbelievable. It has an annual return that one national park in the east of Flanders is good for 191 million euros as a turnover every year, and 5,000 jobs are connected with that. This is an extra evidence that protecting natural ecosystems can be important, are existential for life on Earth. And because I was a president of EUROPARC Federation, the largest network on protected areas in Europe, with 40 million hectares in 40 countries in pan-Europe, we came to the same conclusion, and then not only in Europe but also on the other continents. And this is the best thing to say, is that nature is the best banking company in the world. We can now prove that €1 invested in nature benefits €10 to local economy. It's many times fact-checked, and they only can conclude that it is correct. This is my almost last slide. If you want to do something yourself, think globally, act locally. Everybody knows that, but there's a third part of that, and it is change personally. I've written a book on that, and if you want to know more of that, please buy it. You can buy it everywhere. But I'm happy to maybe talk with you later on. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ignace. And please take a seat.
Yes,
and then we'll have a talk.
Yes.
We have a few more minutes left. So you mentioned earlier that we have actually 10 years left to address the climate crisis effectively. What are, to you, the key strategies to tackle this urgent issue? Because a lot has been said, a lot has been tried. What are, to you, the key strategies?
Yeah, so it's difficult because we need a systemic change, and that's difficult because everything is connected with everything. But I think the first thing, of course, was that we get rid of the fossil fuels. We give a lot of subsidies.
That's the main thing. That's goal number one.
Goal number one, let's go away from fossil fuels. Secondly, we have to electrify the entire grid. And so it's going that direction, but it's not going too fast. But the most important thing how to deal with that is, I think that we need to tackle this as the COVID pandemic. Because what we see in the COVID pandemic is that everything needs to be feasible and affordable. That's what politicians always say. But when COVID came, it became a necessity. So we need to bring that into our mindset, that if we can bring that to a necessity, something happens there. What we saw in COVID, at least what I saw in COVID, we thought we would live differently after COVID. We didn't do that. But we found a vaccine 4 times faster than we thought before. We listened to science. What is the approach we need to take? Firstly, we changed our behavior. We took 1.5 meter social distance and our mouth caps, and feasible and affordable became a necessity. And suddenly there was money. Mm-hmm. Suddenly across the world we found the money to solve this problem. So that's why I think the intergenerational planetary loan is the good thing. Put it outside the official budget and bring the money in to really accelerate the needs we have now.
Are we expecting too much from technical solutions in the future?
No, I
Because
don't
when
think
you
so.
say it's an urgent matter,
Yeah,
we
it's
shouldn't be
urgent,
waiting for technical
but I'm an
solutions.
optimist, and it gives you renewable energy. But what we see now is that, and it was not happening 10 years ago. You have the World Economic Forum in Davos every year, and what they make every year a risk report. And what we see now the last 5 years is that the two biggest challenges for the world economy is climate change, global warming, and natural ecosystems. So suddenly now we are bridging, we are coming to the same conclusion. Not only the environmentalists are saying this, now the entire world economy is saying this. So that's my big hope now, that we find each other and can accelerate from that point out.
Yeah, you mentioned this idea of bringing or organizing rather a tax shelter to save the planet for investments in nature, for instance. Another idea of yours is to bring investments in the planet to the stock market. How would that work?
Yeah.
What's your idea about that?
Yeah, a longer time I'm thinking if we have to finance change, we have to change finance. So I was thinking, what can we do as new economic models? Because we know that the neoliberal economic system is really at the end. So then I came up, while talking with a lot of friends, of course, with the idea of bringing our planet to the stock market, where all of us, every individual on the planet, is an Earth shareholder. So, and you can imagine then $1 or €1 for one share. We bring that together. We have $8 billion or euros. I know there is a difference, of course, but you have to imagine that. And then start from that, with that money, to really save the world on the good things that we are doing. And now bringing that to the world. I'm lucky that I can internationally speak as well on these topics. And for instance, when I was talking in London a half a year ago with if you have to change finance change, you have to change finance, then suddenly the Vermont University was phoning me and saying, hey, this is a fantastic idea, because I don't know if people know, but the neoliberal economic system was built in Bretton Woods just after World War II. Now in Vermont, the world is thinking on a new project that is called Beyond Bretton Woods. And bringing the planet to the stock market is brought in as one thinking model there. And so whatever we can do, of course, and it brings together what is its extension. We have just one planet, so we have to deal with it, because otherwise we cannot save this tree frog, and the tree frog cannot save us.
This brings us back to the beginning, and I would like to thank you, Ignace Schops, for
pleasure.
sharing your views with us. Thank you very much.